2023 has been packed with tons of outstanding games with incredible stories and gameplay. So today I'm going to be going over the top 10 games of 2023. First up at number 10 is Diablo 4, available on the PS4, PS5, Xbox Series, Xbox One, and Windows. Diablo 4 is a dungeon crawler which you start out by choosing which class you want to start out with. During the game, you explore dungeons to complete quests and get loot. Diablo 4 is also the first Diablo game to be open world, but the open world doesn't take Diablo away from its traditional formula, which is something that I feel like developers have problems with doing, but Diablo 4 is able to have a much larger world than the other Diablo games and be open world without changing the franchise, which I think is great, since people who like open world games and people who like more restricted dungeon crawler games can both really enjoy this game. Diablo 4's story, which takes place 50 years after the events of Diablo 3, is also a really engaging storyline. Now on to number 9, we have Lies of P, which is a Souls-like, which takes the formula of Bloodborne and Sekiro and puts them together. Lies of P also tells the story of Pinocchio, but does alter a few things about the story. Now the game starts out in the city of Kra, where you're already going to have familiar names from the story of Pinocchio, like Geppetto. The atmosphere of Kra is a dark location with hostile puppets attacking you. As you progress through the first area, you already get a sense of the game's difficulty, with having a mandatory boss right at the start, and it being kind of difficult. This game will be much harder for someone new to the Souls-like genre than like a Dark Souls veteran. Unlike titles like Elden Ring, where you can get powerful buffs and weapons to have like a really incredibly powerful build to one-shot the bosses, Lies of P is going to force you to learn the combat system, which also is known for Dark Souls veterans as getting good. However, I do consider Lies of P to have a good combat system regardless of how challenging it is, and that kind of is the reason why me and many others play Souls-likes. It's an experience to feel the accomplishment when defeating a boss that you've been stuck on for countless hours. So Lies of P is just an excellent Souls-like with immersive world, challenging combat system, and an altered version of the story of Pinocchio. So I definitely recommend you get the game if you're into these type of challenging games with dark settings. Especially if you like Bloodborne, because people were calling this game like Bloodborne 2 when it was first being announced. But, like, anyone can play the game, but just that, people who are Dark Souls veterans are going to have an easier time doing it than people who are new to this Souls series. Next is Super Mario Bros. Wonder on the Nintendo Switch. Mario Wonder was nominated for the 2023 Game of the Year, which is pretty rare for a Mario game, so when a Mario game is nominated for Game of the Year, you know it's gotta be good. And it really is. Mario Wonder is better than any of the new Super Mario Bros. Games that have come out in the last few decades, and arguably the best ever 2D Mario game. There are so many new features to this game and so many creative ideas. The game starts out in the Flower Kingdom, where Bowser steals the Wonder Flower. This makes Bowser super strong and basically just allows him to wreak havoc like all the other 2D Mario games. But Mario and the rest of the crew decide to help out and take down Bowser. Over the course of the game, you can collect badges that give you abilities like more agility in the water, gliding in the air, extended jumps, and more. Unfortunately, you can only equip one of these badges, so it's not like a Metroid game where you just keep getting more and more OP after collecting so many upgrades, and then you're just unstoppable. But the power-ups turn the characters into an elephant, allow them to shoot bubbles, drill into the wall, and shoot fireballs. Each level in the game is given a rating out of 5, with all the worlds having a variety of easy to moderate to hard difficulties. However, the levels aren't hard enough to get too frustrated, and they do allow the player to progress through the game at a steady pace. In each level, you can collect 2 Wonder Seeds, one at the end of the level and one hidden in the level. When collecting the hidden Wonder Seed, the level will have a drastic change to the level, quite literally bringing the level to life. Mario Wonder is an excellent addition to the Mario franchise, and definitely one of the top 10 best games of 2023. However, there are other games that I felt deserve to have a higher ranking above Mario Wonder that were not nominated for the 2023 Game of the Year. One of these games is number 7, which is Star Wars Jedi Survivor for the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and Windows. This is the sequel to Star Wars Jedi The Fallen Order and takes place 5 years after the events of Fallen Order. Just like Jedi Fallen Order, you play as Jedi Knight Cal Kestis as you fight against the Empire. This game has similar gameplay to Jedi Fallen Order, as it has a Souls-like style where you can use the Force in addition to your lightsaber to attack. However, the lightsaber combat is changed a little bit, with you being able to change between many different types of lightsabers, like single blades, double-sided blades, using 2 blades, and more. The rest of the gameplay, such as the boss fights, are the same format as Jedi Fallen Order. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a thrilling sequel to the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and is an excellent new addition to the Souls-like genre. Now on to number 6 is Final Fantasy XVI for the PlayStation 5. In the game, you play as the protagonist, Clive Rosefield, in the world of Valistia. Final Fantasy XVI is directed towards a much more mature audience than the other Final Fantasy games, and has a much darker story with more violence, and having kids get caught up in the violence. Final Fantasy XVI is an action RPG where you can explore the split-up areas of Valisthea, so although this game isn't open world, you are able to explore a good amount and complete many side quests in the segments that the game allows you to be in. When you go into combat against enemies, you can only control Clive, and the other people on your party are NPCs, whose AI will choose which attack they're doing. Lastly, you are able to choose between different difficulty levels at the beginning of the game, and upon finishing, you can play in New Game Plus, which is just a harder version of the whole game. This game can easily be spent hundreds and hundreds of hours on with all the side missions and replay value, and because the main story itself is just pretty long, like all the other recent Final Fantasy games. However, the side quests don't give very good rewards, and a lot of people aren't happy about them and saying that you shouldn't do them and that they're pointless, which is one of the reasons why some of the reviews are not as high as they were expected to be when the game released. Despite this, I still enjoyed the game with or without the side quests, and that game deserves to be number 6 on this top 10 list. Now into the top 5 is Spider-Man 2, which is a PS5 exclusive game. Spider-Man 2 takes place 10 months after the events of 2020 Spider-Man Miles Morales game, but Spider-Man 2 also combines the Spider-Man game from 2018 as well as the 2020 Spider-Man, and has a ton of different enemies and heroes from the two games all in one action-packed story. The two main characters in the game are Peter Parker and Miles Morales, who were the main Spider-Man characters in the previous two games. As you explore the game's open world, you can swap between playing as Peter Parker and Miles Morales. However, you are able to briefly play as other characters over the course of the game, such as Venom. Overall, if you like Spider-Man and combining all the Spider-Man characters into one game, then this game is definitely for you. Especially since the game was also nominated for the 2023 Game of the Year. Now on to number 4 is Resident Evil 4 Remake, which is available on the PS4, PS5, the Xbox Series, and Windows. The Resident Evil franchise has had some of the best horror games of all time. Resident Evil 4 was the best Resident Evil game yet when it came out in 2005, and the game still remains to be on the top of my personal list of the best Resident Evil games. Now with Resident Evil 4 having a remake, it's no surprise that it was nominated for the 2023 Game of the Year. In Resident Evil 4 Remake, you play as Leon Kennedy in this third-person shooter to save the President of the United States' daughter, Ashley Graham. The visuals of the remake and the graphics have become more realistic, the cast has changed, as well as the gameplay being slightly different, and more when comparing the remake and the original. If you enjoyed the original Resident Evil 4 from 2005, or have never played it and want to try it out, then I definitely recommend Resident Evil 4 Remake. Now before we get to our top 3, I just want to go over some honorable mentions that were really good games but didn't make it onto this list. To start off the honorable mentions, we have Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. I know this game is really good, but because this is an update slash DLC, I thought that it would be better to just put this on the honorable mentions list. But it is a great sci-fi adventure and stuff, and it's I know it got lots of 10 out of 10s. I think it's also really good, so I definitely recommend playing it, even though it's in the honorable mentions section, just because it is an update. I thought it would be better to just put this on the honorable mentions list. Another honorable mention is Starfield, which is Bethesda's new game. So if you really like Bethesda games, you like Skyrim, you like Elder Scrolls games, you like Fallout, this game's definitely good. This is like a sci-fi version of all of that. People were calling this game Skyrim in space when it first came out. I know it didn't get the best reviews, but if you like Bethesda games and you want to try out their new game, then this definitely will still be a fun game. Another one of the honorable mentions is Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon, which is the new From Software game that came out in August. And it is it's the first Armored Core game in a very long time, since From Software has just been doing Dark Souls and stuff. So if you do like Dark Souls, this game isn't a Souls-like, but it's From Software, so same developers, gonna have some elements in there. Or maybe, you're an Armored Core veteran and, you're finally ready to play their next game. Then yeah, here it is, it's out. Or even if you haven't played Dark Souls or Armored Core and you just think this game's really interesting, it is a really fun game. It does have difficulty, it's got that From Software element, like I said, but it is a really fun sci-fi game. My other honorable mentions were Street Fighter 6, Octopath Traveler 2, Hi-Fi Rush, and Super Mario RPG. Now on to our top 3, we have Alan Wake 2, which is available on the PS5, Windows, and the Xbox Series. The last time an Alan Wake game has come out was 13 years ago, assuming you don't include Control, which is in the same universe as Alan Wake. During this time of waiting, Remedy Entertainment has created a thrilling sequel full of intense moments of horror and discovery. Alan Wake 2 was nominated for the 2023 Game of the Year, and although it didn't win, it won a number of separate awards during the 2023 Game Awards. Alan Wake 2 takes place 13 years after the events of the first Alan Wake game from 2010. In the game, you mainly play as the two characters Alan Wake and FBI agent Saga Anderson. The game starts out with former FBI agent, I won't say who it is, just so I don't spoil it for you, being murdered by a cult who call themselves Cult of the Tree. The FBI begin investigating the murder, and these agents are Saga Anderson and Alex Casey. As they investigate more and more about the murder, they learn that the Cult of the Tree might be connected to Alan Wake. Alan Wake has been trapped in an alternate dimension ever since the end of the first Alan Wake game, which he refers to as the Dark World. Alan Wake was a horror writer before getting trapped in the Dark World. Now, his stories affect what happened in the Dark World, so Alan Wake must write his way out of the Dark World as he explores deeper into it. When playing as both Saga and Alan, you're either investigating the Cult of the Tree, or if you can continue to write yourself out of the Dark World. While trying to solve whichever mystery you're currently trying to solve, Saga and Alan can use shotguns or sometimes using lights to attack the enemies. Alan Wake 2 is an excellent sequel to the first Alan Wake game and has exceeded at least my expectations for what the game would be like in terms of the horror, gameplay mechanics, the story, and more. Now down to number 2 is Baldur's Gate 3, which was the 2023 Game of the Year winner and very much deserved that award for the excellent voice acting, the story, and so many other great things about this game. The game starts out with you being trapped in this alien-like UFO sort of place, where you and many other hostages have been given mind flayers by the monsters who captured you to eventually transform you into a monster. You eventually are able to team up with the other hostages and escape from this place and find many other hostages from the ship that you can either make enemies with or have them join you on your journey to get the mind flayers out of you before it turns you into a monster. The amount of choices you can make in this game is unreal, and there are so many different directions that this game can go, but all choices that you make will all lead to an incredibly memorable and detailed storyline. You can pretty much have a relationship and have sex with every single character of your pick with the right dialogue options. This feature also allows so much replay value for this game, since there are so many different options for how the player wants the story to go. So if you want to play a game that you can play for 500 hours and not even being close to being completely done with, then this is definitely one of the best options. The gameplay consists of you exploring both the game world and completing both the main quests and the side quests, looting dead bodies, walking into battles, and more. The combat system is a top-down and turn-based combat system, which some people didn't like about the game, but as someone who enjoys Fire Emblem, I like the combat, but I do know that there are a bunch of people who don't like this, but I think that once you do play the game a lot, you will warm up to the combat system. Even though this game is outstanding with a masterful story and the 2023 Game of the Year winner, there is still one game that I feel topped Baldur's Gate 3, and that game is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Many people, including me, were waiting for this game to come out since 2019 when the first trailer for the game came out. But let me tell you, it felt a lot longer than 4 years of waiting for this game. Tears of the Kingdom was nominated for the 2023 Game of the Year and won the award for the most anticipated Game of the Year in 2022 Game Awards. Tears of the Kingdom is available only on the Nintendo Switch and is the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which was a revolutionary game of its time in 2017 and inspired many other games. Tears of the Kingdom is the world of Breath of the Wild, but bigger and better, with a ton of sky islands, a full underground area called the Depths, new enemies, these markings on the grass called geoglyphs, new and better dungeons, having the abilities to create vehicles and structures, and so much more cool stuff. The amount of crazy things you can do in this game are insane, like building hover bikes, airships, genitals, and so much more. In the game, you start out exploring underneath Hyrule Castle as Link with Princess Zelda after the events of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. After fighting many artifacts from the lost ancient Zonai tribe, Link and Zelda stumble upon the Demon King Ganondorf, who knocks Zelda off a cliff. Link attempts to save her, but he misses and is grabbed by a strange green hand. Link wakes up on the Sky Island, known as the Great Sky Island, with this green hand now taking the place of one of his hands. This hand gives him his 4 main abilities, which are Ultra Hand, Fuse, Ascend, and Recall. There are other unlockable abilities that you can get on Link's hand, but these are the ones that you will mainly be using in the game. Link is also guided by the spirit of a Zonai named Roru to complete the 4 shrines on the Sky Island and descend down to the surface to find Zelda. In this game, you could easily spend hundreds of hours from all the 152 shrines, the side quests, the 1,000 Korok Seeds. Yes, that's right, there are 1,000 Korok Seeds this time, not 900 like in Breath of the Wild. I told you this is Breath of the Wild, but bigger. And there's so much more that allows you to just spend hundreds of hours in this game. This world is so massive, and there's so much creativity that can be applied to this game, and so many different ways to play this. I mean, I'm making videos right now about how to beat the whole game without any weapons, shields, or bows, and I already have a full walkthrough on the game on my channel right now, which I will be linking in the description below. The last reason why this game is made me pick for the Game of the Year is more of a personal reason, so this may not apply to you, but it's because Zelda Breath of the Wild is the game that I first played on this channel, and it was the game that made me want to start making videos. So with this game being the sequel and all, you know, I have to kind of pick it because it's just such, you know, a special game for me and stuff, since I've also just been waiting for it for 4 years and watching so many theory videos on what this game would be like, and all these trailer breakdown videos, which I eventually started making my own videos of. I made trailer breakdown videos for what this game would be like, so there's just so much hype on this game, and it was just so exciting when the game finally came out, and then obviously I loved the game as well. So for those reasons, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is my personal 2023 Game of the Year. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching. If you liked the video, hit that like button and subscribe to see more content, and so that I can make more videos like these. If you want to see more of these top 10 videos more often, then write in the comments what you want to see on the channel in the future. This is just my opinion on what the top 10 games of 2023 are, so if you might have a different list, but feel free to write in the comments what your top 10 games of the year are. Hope this video was informative to you, and I will see you all later. Goodbye.